Hello guys, welcome back to the studio and thank you so much for joining me. I've had a lot of requests for what we're going to be doing in the video today. So many people have messaged me asking me how to do this, what leather to use for it, if it's as difficult as it looks, and all of those things are going to be answered today. So, in today's video, I'm going to show you how to properly leather cover your stitching clams. When you buy a new pair of stitching clams, in my case I'm going to be using Dream Factory ones today, but you can use Blanchard ones, you can use whatever you want because they all come like this to begin with. They don't come with the jaws covered in leather. Now the problem with that is wood will scratch your leather. Not all leathers, if you're using chrome tan you'll be fine, but if you're using soft veg tan or shell cordovan or bridal leather, you will scratch your leather if you clamp your stitching clam down firmly enough so that your piece doesn't move, and that's the point of a stitching clamp, so it holds your piece without it moving. So they don't come with leather on it. I think it's probably because it's too much work for the factory to do it, but I don't know. Firstly, you can cover it with pretty much anything. Today I'm going to be using something that's not very conventional. I'm going to be using a shell cordovan to do this. Now, I'm doing that for two reasons. One, I've got some spare, you don't really have spare shell cordovan, but I have some spare shell cordovan lying around the studio. And two, because it takes an embossing really nicely. So I'm going to be embossing my logo onto it. Now, the one thing I'll say, and that you'll see in the video, is that it's very difficult to stick shell cordovan together without touching the finish, and that's because the finish is really fatty, really waxy. It's just the way it's tanned in all shell cordovan factories, so it's gonna look like absolute blasphemy, but we're gonna have to sand off the top layer of the shell cordovan. I'm also gonna be doing it in a reverse manner, and by that I mean I'm going to be gluing the finished dyed face down to the clam, because I don't want any possibility of the dye leaking onto my piece. Now, it probably won't, but I don't want to take that chance, because if I had like a number 8 shell cordovan or an oxblood or something, and this one I think is a number 8, you would get that dye transfer into the piece that you're working on if you're holding it for long periods of time or you clamp it too hard or whatever, and we don't want that. So as you're about to see, and I'll walk you through the different stages of it, I'm going to sand the top layer off so that it properly adheres and so that we don't get any dye transfer onto the piece. So let's get started, shall we? Alright guys, so we've got the stitching clam in front of us. As you can see, I've already put some calf on it. I did that ages ago before I just as a sort of get by thing to bridge the gap. So the first thing we're going to do is take those off. So if you've already done this and you're redoing it, just take off the ones you've done, and as you can see they come off really easily because I didn't glue them down to stay, I glued them down to be a temporary measure. So they're off. The first measurement we need is the total length around there. That's the first measurement we need. So you can either measure off there or you can measure off the leather that you just pulled off. It should be roughly the same. So let's call that 20 mil, and that is roughly the same. So that's 20 mil plus how far you want it to go down. And for me, I want it to go down, let's go 40, because this is 20, so that'll fit nicely there, which is what we want. So, and we need an extra little bit to get around the corner. So 20 plus 40 is 60, plus let's say 5 to go around the corner, so 65 mil in length, and then the width is 60, so 60 by 65. So let's make a pattern for that. Right guys, so I've got the shell cordovan. I think this is Halloween, I'm not entirely certain. It was just an offcut I got from a shoemaker. And this is the pattern that I just made. It's 6.5 by 6 centimeters, so 65 by 60. And now I'm going to try and wedge it into here somehow. Not entirely certain how, but we're going to figure that out. Now, if this was for a wallet or a card holder or something actually important, it would matter where I cut it because some of it's a bit loose on the back. But this doesn't matter in the slightest because that's all going to be on a clam anyway. Use just a normal rounder to mark that out. It's going to be a tight cut, but again doesn't really matter. And now, oh, I've got loads of room, absolutely loads of room. If you can hear children in the back, in the background, I apologise about that. I live near other houses, and they make a lot of noise. Cool. I'll rough cut that and then I'll show you what we're going to do next. First, we want to commit blasphemy. We're going to sand off the top layer of shell cordovan. Not something that I regularly do and not something that I take any pride in, believe it or not. But it's something that we've got to do because if I don't, it won't take the glue prop. So unfortunately, and don't hate me in the comments, I have to sand this off. Next thing we're going to do is take our clam. We're going to open it as wide as we can without the thing falling apart. I'm using some 320 grit. And we're going to use that to rough up the inside of the jaw just there. The more you rough it up from smooth, the better the glue's going to stick. Now we want to take a pen. We want to take one of our clams, one of our leather tabs, put it in place, roughly. Wrap it round and put a mark on the clam. And just remember that when you actually glue it, you want to glue it just higher so that it covers the mark. And the reason that mark's there, I'll show you in a moment, but we're going to use a engineer's square and put that line across. And that's where we're going to sand to. Just do the other side and then we'll glue that together. Then we'll glue the tab onto that. Now I've sanded these, I've sanded them both really well. Time to put some glue on them, wait for that to dry, put some glue on the back, which is also the front of our tabs, and stick it all together. that's now really sticky, really tacky. So the next thing we're going to do is put these pads on it, and I'm going to teach you a little trick in a moment. So let's do that, and then I'll teach you a trick which is going to be super helpful, and you'll be glad you stuck with me for this long. Make sure you keep it really tight over the top. First side done, flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Now for that trick that I told you about, is to clamp that tight. So we're going to screw that in. And we're going to keep screwing it until it's completely tight. Without breaking it, obviously. And as you can see, that's really tight. All done, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope it was of use to you. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share, do all the things, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much. Have a good evening.